Emanuel Seller was the Brooklyn congressman who authored the 1961 Sports Broadcast Act, which allowed the NFL to grow because it became a monopoly where all 14 teams were grouped as one. So Pete Rozelle could sell it to a network, which was CBS and NBC in those days. So that's kind of against antitrust laws. But Emanuel Seller rammed it through the House. Estes Kefauver rammed it through the Senate in even faster time than Seller. Seller took 2 days. Kefauver took 1 day. It was on John Kennedy's desk by September 30th, 1961. They signed that deal, and all of a sudden the NFL got money. 1966, the AFL and NFL wanted to merge. They had to go before Congress because they were creating a monopoly. There were a couple aspects that went on there. First of all, votes were sold or bought. The NFL had to go to Russell Long in Louisiana and he was a senator from Louisiana, a powerful figure. Hale Boggs was a congressman from Louisiana whose daughter is now Cokie Roberts, or is Cokie Roberts. He was very powerful in the House. Neither man wanted to support the merger because New Orleans didn't have a team. That's how the Saints came about. Basically, the NFL bought off Russell Long and Hale Boggs. I don't know if I should use the word bought off per se, but that's
Placated?
what they did.
Yeah.
Placated.
Yeah.
Got their votes. New Orleans got a team. Seller basically said, look, none of these teams are going to move. All 24 teams at that point, there were 9 AFL teams and 15 NFL teams, had to stay in their location because one of the proposals the NFL came up with was the Jets were going to move to LA. Daniel Reeves was going to take the the Los Angeles Rams to San Diego. Paris Hilton's grandfather, that's Paris Hilton's grandfather, a member of the Lucky Sperm Club according to Donald Trump, Baron Hilton, he was going to take the Chargers to New Orleans, and Oakland was going to go. Now, Oakland did not have Al Davis at that time. He was the commissioner of the American Football League, and he was going to be cut out of the equation totally. So Oakland was either going to go to Portland or Seattle. Seller said no, that they were going to keep the teams where they were. Of course, Seller's district included Shea Stadium, where the Jets were. So the Jets ended up paying, Sonny Werble and his group ended up paying Wellington Mara and Tim Mara $10 million. The Raiders ownership gave the 49ers $8 million. And then there was the expansion to New Orleans. I believe that was $8 million, all of which went into the NFL owners' pocket. See, this is how these guys do business. And then the AFL subsequently, because there was 25 teams to make it 26, subsequently went into Cincinnati for $7.5 million. The AFL owners didn't take that money. The NFL owners took that money as part of the merger. So anyway, Seller protected the Jets, but they also threw in a provision that no stadium could seat under 50,000 or teams could leave. The Minnesota Vikings had 48,000. The Chicago Bears, I don't know what they threw into Wrigley. They ended up in Soldier Field. But because of that merger, they got the Metrodome in Minneapolis, and the Vikings want to leave the Metrodome, which of course the roof just fell down conveniently. So they need a new stadium. So everything in the NFL is secular in nature. And so we're, in a sense, still fighting 1966 battles with stadiums in Minnesota.
Well, let's keep that battle going. Let's fast forward to now, 2011. And we've actually had this past season blackouts, not being able to get attendance up. And
well, part of it's the economy is broken because corporates can't afford luxury boxes or can't afford season tickets. Or in the Jets and Giants case, all of a sudden you have the PSLs, the personal seat license for the new stadium, and then you're charging $700-800 on top of that per ticket. So you're double dipping to get money out of the fans. But in places like Jacksonville, there's just not a big enough corporate community. It's still, you know, if you look at Jacksonville, the demographic analysts of the 1990s were wrong about what was going to happen in Jacksonville. Jacksonville never did grow the way the demographers figured it was going to grow. It's still a heavy military town. And the corporates have not moved there in spite of the fact they gave them the 2006 Super Bowl. Now, part of when you award the city a Super Bowl, like a Jacksonville, like a Phoenix, is attract CEOs down there with the hope that they will put some of their business there. That never happened in Jacksonville, and that didn't happen in Phoenix. And of course, when you go to New York in 3 years, that's not going to happen. You're not going to worry about CEOs saying, "Gee, you know that little area in Manhattan, I think I want to go there," because they're there. Jacksonville is a problem in the future. Buffalo is a problem in a different direction, because if you would award a franchise to a city now, Buffalo doesn't meet the criteria that you need now, because there's not that large corporate presence. Of course, you don't have that large corporate presence in New Orleans or Green Bay. And what Buffalo has to do, and Ralph Wilson's trying to do, is regionalize it with Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo and Toronto. The problem in upstate New York is Ted Fay, who's a professor at SUNY Cortland, and I go up there occasionally to talk. As he would say, upstate New York's been in a recession since 1987 or 1988. Buffalo has half the population it had in 1960. The flour mills are gone. The Erie Canal is gone. The port has gone downhill. Kodak has left Rochester. Carrier has left Syracuse. IBM has left Binghamton. When you talk about the problems in New York State, and if you don't want me to get into the political angle of this, the businesses have disappeared from upstate New York, as Ralph Wilson has pointed out, and we could spend hours discussing failed policies going back to Nelson Rockefeller and through Malcolm Wilson, through Hugh Carey, through Mario Cuomo, and through George Pataki taking care of upstate New York. But that's another show. Needless to say, Buffalo is in trouble, and 3 years from now, the lease is up at the building. Ralph Wilson's 92 years old. His heirs are not going to keep the team. And as David Patterson told me in December, one of his last acts as governor, he described the Bill situation as perilous. And so it's those small market franchises that are digging in right now to get the best deal they can against the players. But the problem is not the players. It's the other owners like Jerry Jones and Danny Snyder and Bob Kraft, who are paying off debt and who want to keep all of the local revenues, not the TV revenues, all the local revenues. They want to share it, and you can't get that kind of revenue in Buffalo or Cincinnati as you can in Dallas for the Cowboys, or New York, or Washington, or Philadelphia, or Boston, or if they move into Los Angeles. So it's owner against owner, and then owner against players. So the owners